A lot of people will be like, oh, well, you grew up in the church, so, like, you're kind of brainwashed. You're gonna believe the way that you've lived your whole life. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is kind of a different video, and it's gonna maybe be a little bit interesting to see how this goes. But today I wanted to do just like a little sit-down chit-chat, just like kind of helping everybody get to know me a little bit better. If you're not somebody that I know in person, it can be kind of weird to, you know, just watch strangers. So I wanted to talk about religion, which is a very, very big part of my life and something that I am so eager to share. And so I figured what better way to do it than with the people that are choosing to spend some of their time with me. I'm very, very thankful for this platform existing. It helps me to feel comfortable and even more confident talking about this topic with a larger variety of people. So I really do hope that you stick around and actually watch all the way to the end, because I feel like I have a very interesting perspective on things that you might be a little bit surprised by. So with that being said, let's get started with the video. Okay, so here on my phone, I actually have 10 questions. I don't know if you're able to see that at all, but I have 10 questions that I felt like were very good questions that could help give a little bit more perspective on who I am as far as my identity in religion. So that was a very loaded sentence there. So I guess without any more rambling, here we go. So the first question is, what religion do you believe in? I identify as a Christian, non-denominational. That means like I'm not Baptist, I'm not Church of Christ or anything like that. I'm just basic as basic gets when it comes to Christianity. I do identify that way, but I also want to point out that for me it is more about my relationship than it is about my religion. So my beliefs very much go based off of Christian teachings, but I'm more worried about who I am and my relation to Jesus Christ himself, as opposed to how do I identify, like within the church, am I doing everything correctly according to the church? This is a very complicated answer. So I'm less concerned with the church and how I appear to other people within said church. I'm more concerned about like how I'm relating to Jesus and how I'm living based off his teachings. So I hope that that helps kind of clear that up a little bit. And with that in mind, let's move on to the next question. So question number 2 is, when did you choose your faith? I grew up in the church, so I grew up going to a non-denominational church, and that's what I've stuck with my whole life. But the second, I remember it so clearly the second that I chose for myself, this is what's going to be happening in my life. So something that I think is important to talk about is a lot of people will be like, oh, well, you grew up in the church, so like you're kind of brainwashed. You're going to believe the way that you've lived your whole life, which for some people is true, but for me, there was a time when I was about 12 years old where I said, this is the path that I want for my life. This brings me joy and fulfillment, and it brings me, most importantly, a lot of peace. I had a very turbulent end to my childhood, and I had to grow up a little bit quicker than most people. And that led me to being very upset with God and even questioning if he was there at a certain point. And I had to go to this winter retreat because like my brother was going, and so my parents wanted me to go with him and like just join our church and do that. And like I really just wasn't feeling it. I didn't want to go. But I'm very thankful that I did, because on the first night I remember this message being given, and it really did change my life, and it helped me forgive myself and forgive others around me. And I remember the second that I accepted Jesus into my heart full time, saying, take out all the stops, like I am following you, and this is what I'm going to be doing with my life. So I remember that very clearly. So I guess the short version of that answer is at 12 years old. It's question number 3. Does someone need to attend church to be spiritual? So I do not believe that you have to attend church to be spiritual, personally. I do not think that Jesus looks at you and says, oh, you missed another Sunday. we must not have a relationship anymore. I think that there are certain circumstances in which church is not the most important part of your relationship with Christ. I said it. I know that's not going to be a popular opinion amongst other Christian believers, but I fully believe that if you are devoting your time, however that looks, to your relationship and you are spending time with God, whatever that looks like for you, I believe that that is all that we're really called to do as far as building our relationship. However, that's an important word, however, I do believe that church is very important in building your spirituality. It's almost one of those things where, like, I want to be a physical therapist. Like, that's the job that I want to go into. And yes, my passion is great. And spending time, devoting my time to that passion personally is also great. However, to get to being a physical therapist, licensed, recognized, all of that stuff, I have to go to school for that. And so I think that just like any other discipline or any other major lifestyle, it's important to go and feed yourself and to educate yourself, and I think that church is a great place to do that. But I will also say a church is a body of people, not a building. So for me, this past couple of years, coming into college, I just now found a church and I'm on my second semester of sophomore year. However, I felt like my relationship with God was so strong and so just like airtight. And I never felt like it really wavered because I didn't have a church that I was like constantly going to. But I will also say that I feel much more empowered and full of life now that I am back at a church that I have found that I love. So take that how you will. I highly encourage people to find a church that they feel comfortable with, because honestly, spending time in the community of God is just like so empowering and so energizing and just amazing. So that's what I'll say on that. Question number 4. What's the difference between being spiritual and being religious? So I kind of touched on this with question number 1. So religion is an organized system of belief. So by identifying as a Christian, I'm identifying with the Christian organized way of believing, if that makes sense. There are certain parts of the organized way of belief that I'm kind of like, that seems a little bit of a power grab. I don't know that I agree with that. But for the most part, my beliefs very much align with Christianity as it is. I also am a very spiritual person, and I believe that there are things that lay outside of the realm of what my organized system of belief accepts that I do believe in. A good example of that would actually be crystals. I do use crystals in part of my prayer life. I do believe that they have extremely healing properties, but that's something that, you know, some other people in the church might be like, that's very sacrilegious, you shouldn't use stuff like that. And the way that I view it is God gives us these tools in our lives, and it's kind of like a hammer. I can either hurt somebody with it or I can help them build a house. So it really just depends on like your point of view on things. So yes, there is a difference between being religious and being spiritual, and I consider myself more of a spiritual person than a religious person. I don't believe that the church creates my identity. My identity is found in Jesus Christ and God and the Holy Spirit. So yeah, sorry if y'all are hearing a weird noise. My camera seems to be refocusing a lot. This is a little bit of an older camera, but instead of, I needed my phone for questions, so I decided to film on it. So I hope it's not too annoying. Question number 5 is, did you have to change your life before you started following your religion? So the answer is no, I did not have to change my life. Like I was saying earlier, I did have a point where like I was falling away from God for sure, and there was a point where I questioned if He even existed. But I felt very accepted the way that I was and as I came and all of that. So I never felt like I had to change who I was to be loved or accepted. I do understand how people can feel that way going into a church situation, but as far as my relationship with God, I never felt like I had to change who I was for Him to want me or to accept me. So that's kind of my answer. I'm sure that there are other people that feel differently. If that's something y'all want to dive deeper on, I do have some friends who actually left the church because they felt that way, like they weren't accepted, but have now rejoined or are still trying to figure it out. So if y'all want me to, I can make a video that dives further into that question, because I think that that's what holds a lot of people back. Question number 6 is, what benefits can someone get from going to church? Community. Community and just like learning. So like I was saying earlier, it's very important to be educated and to like further your knowledge on your beliefs, if that makes sense. So I think that church is a great way to do that, and also just to like get to know the people that believe similarly to you. You don't have to agree on every religious topic on planet Earth, but it is a very good way to benefit, because it does help give you perspective on how other people are thinking, and it might even make you change a little bit how you think, because you're like, wait a minute, that's a very good, valid point. So yeah, community is definitely the number one answer to that, but then also being able to learn from people who have spent their life studying stuff like that and all of that fun, good stuff. Number 7 is, what misconceptions are there about faith? Okay, so I think that the biggest misconception that I've run into is like when people like hear about my religion or ask me about my religion, I do give the answer Christianity, because like I was saying, it is what I most closely identify as, but I think that people, they stop there. That's when they check out. They're like, oh, she's a Christian, I want nothing to do with her. But if you give me the time to explain, I can say I don't care as much about like the religion as I do about the relationship. And the relationship is really just that sweet spot right there that is like, this is all you need. If you lose religion, if I lose all of Christianity and I still have my relationship, then like nothing is going to like, nothing can be as bad as losing that relationship, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining that well. If I'm not, let me know in the comments, and I can do like an entire video where I just explain the difference between religion and relationship. And I think a great song, if y'all want to listen to it, it's called Losing My Religion by Lauren Daigle. It's seriously like the best. Oh, I love that song. So yeah, it's so good, and it might help give some perspective on that if y'all want to go give that a listen. Question number 8. If there's one God, why are there more than 4,000 religions? So, that is a great question. It's very interesting because in the Bible, and I'll put like the verse somewhere on the screen. And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. Exodus 20:1-5. Actually, the Bible does address that there is more than just the one God of the Bible. There are more gods. And he talks about how, like, none shall be held higher than me. I am the God of all gods, the King of all kings. So I do acknowledge that there are other gods out there, but, like, they're not my God. So that might be a very hard concept for people to understand. And that comes back to, like, other religions aren't just, like, I don't just, like, brush them off because they're not the religion that I believe, because I do see validity in a good amount of the religions out there. But the God that I follow, the Almighty, however you want to put that, has said none of them shall be put above me. I am the God of all gods, the King of all kings, and so that's how I live. I don't put any single one of them above him. I don't do, like, if I have something going on in my life, that is between me and God. And, like, I'm going to go to him. I'm not going to go to anybody else. Question number 9. What was the most influential story from the Bible? So for me, personally, the most influential story from the Bible is actually just like the story of Jesus. But more specifically, the story where Jesus goes to the least of these. And so a lot of times, another very valid misconception, so it comes from a very valid place, is that, like, Christians are super judgmental and like they're all high and mighty and like they think that they're better than everybody somebody else. So that does come from a very valid place, because I have met Christians like that. And for me, the way that I try to live is the way that Jesus lived, and he's not going to go hang out just with all the people that are already, you know, doing really well and kind of succeeding within their faith, if that makes sense. He's going to go to the least of these. He's going to accept them. He's going to love on them, because that is the way that you help heal people. You can't, like, I can't heal somebody from afar. And I mean, I guess I can in certain situations like this, like over YouTube. If somebody wants to come back and watch more videos like this, I'm gonna have, like, hopefully a series. And so that's a way that I can reach people from afar. But, like, typically speaking, as, like, if it were a medical practice, I'm not going to be treating somebody who lives in Seattle, because I live in Denton, Texas, and I can't heal somebody from across the country. Like, I want to be up close and personal so that I can assess the issue and help address it in the best way possible. So, yeah, that would be the most influential. Like, he goes and he washes the feet of a prostitute who, you know, everybody else in society looked down upon, but he loved on her and cared for her, because that is what, you know, she needed. She just needed somebody who was going to just show her some compassion. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm having camera difficulties. Okay, this is where we're gonna leave it, because we're on the last question. So if the last couple minutes of the video looks bad, I'm so sorry. I'm having camera and speaking difficulties. So the last question is, why do you believe something, or why do you believe in something you can't see? And I felt like this is such a good question to end on, because first of all, it's a difficult question that I feel like a lot of people have a difficult time answering. For me, the answer is simple. Basically, there are things that I have witnessed in my life, whether it be seeing or hearing, or just, like, feeling sometimes. Sometimes it's a feeling, and that's okay. That's not any less valid as far as your personal faith goes. But yeah, there are things that I've witnessed with my own eyes that I cannot deny. I don't want to get in too far to my witnessing, to my testimony, to all of that. I want to leave that for a separate video, because I could go on and on about the things that I've witnessed in this lifetime. But basically, nobody is ever going to be able to sit down in front of me and convince me that God is not real, and that, you know, Jesus is not real. And it's okay if that means something different to everybody. I'm not here to make anybody believe the way that I believe. But, you know, like, there comes a point where you've seen what you've seen, you've heard what you've heard, and you felt what you felt, and nobody can take that away from you. And so that's as simple as my answer gets. Sorry if it's not solid enough for you to, you know, determine if this faith is meant for you or not. But I will be doing more videos, if y'all want me to, where, like, I'll give my testimony and I'll give some of the witnessing that I have done, things that I've seen and all of that. So, yeah. With all of that being said, I hope that y'all have a great week. I hope that y'all enjoyed this video, because I enjoyed making it, and it's so fun to share something that I'm passionate about. So, yeah, I hope that y'all have a fantabulous week, and have a happy rest of your Sunday. Bye, y'all.